When we got married, I kept my $500 million inheritance secret, just to see how my husband would treat me, but... Hello family, welcome back. Please do well to subscribe, and let's know where you're watching the story from in the comment section. Emily woke to the faint smell of cologne that wasn't hers. It lingered in the sheets long after Ryan had left for work. She lay there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, wondering if it came from him or from someone he had been near. The fake inheritance papers had been sitting in plain sight for 2 days, and she could already feel his energy shift. He touched her more, smiled wider, called her babe in that easy, sweet tone she had fallen for when they met. But there was something else too, a restless spark in his eyes, like a gambler holding a winning ticket and waiting for the right moment to cash it in. By Thursday evening, he came home in a suit. Ryan hardly ever wore suits unless it was a wedding or a funeral. "You look nice," Emily said, watching him loosen his tie. "Meeting ran late," he said, kissing her cheek. "Mike and Ava wanted to go over some details." She kept her voice calm. "Details about what?" "Our next move," he said, pouring himself a drink. "They've got a property lined up. Prime location. With your resources, we could secure it before anyone else. The profit margin is insane." "My resources," she repeated. He grinned. "Our resources. I mean, babe, this is what people dream of." She took her time stirring the pasta on the stove. "People also dream of not going bankrupt." "You think I'd let that happen?" he asked, almost laughing. "I think," she said slowly, "that people do strange things when they think the jackpot's in their pocket." His smile froze for half a second before he recovered. "You're overthinking again." That night, Emily texted Daniel. "He's pushing. We might get something soon." The reply came fast. "Stay calm. Let him hang himself." On Saturday morning, Ryan suggested they go out for brunch. They walked into a busy cafe, and she noticed how often he glanced at his phone. When it buzzed, he excused himself and stepped outside. Through the window, she saw him speaking with someone. His shoulders leaned forward, his expression intense. He returned a few minutes later, smiling like nothing had happened. "What was that about?" she asked. "Mike," he said. "He just confirmed the property's still available." Emily cut into her pancakes. Convenient timing. That afternoon, she found a folder tucked under the couch cushion. It was filled with property listings and rough sketches of some investment plan. Her name was on a few of the notes in Ryan's handwriting. Emily, front capital, Emily, contacts, Emily, inheritance leverage. She placed the folder back exactly where she'd found it. On Sunday, Claire stopped by while Ryan was supposedly meeting Mike. Emily showed her the folder. Claire's lips pressed tight. "He's not even subtle." "That's the part that worries me," Emily said. "People get sloppy when they're confident." Claire sat forward. "You're going to catch him, right? Not just walk away?" "Oh, I'm going to catch him," Emily said. "But I want him to think it's his win until the last possible second." That night, Ryan came home smelling faintly of Ava's perfume. Emily didn't say a word. She set a glass of wine in front of him, smiled, and asked how the meeting went. He told her they were ready to move forward and that all he needed was her approval. On Monday morning, she gave him exactly that, sort of. "If we're going to do this," she told him over coffee, "I need to understand every detail. Paperwork, contracts, where the money is going, all of it." He nodded quickly. "Of course, I'll get Ava to send over the documents." "Good," Emily said, "and I'll have my lawyer look at them." That made him pause. "Do we need a lawyer for this?" "Yes," she said firmly. "If we're talking millions, we do." He forced a smile. "Sure, whatever makes you comfortable." 2 days later, Ava herself dropped off the documents. She greeted Emily with a smile that was all teeth and no warmth. "Ryan's told me what a sharp mind you have," she said. Emily returned the smile just enough to be polite. "I try." paperwork was dense and deliberately confusing. Buried in the fine print was a clause that would transfer controlling interest in the property and any related assets to a company registered under Ava's name. Emily spent that night reading every page twice. By Thursday, she had a plan. Daniel arranged for a legal decoy, a contract that looked like an authorization to transfer her inheritance funds into Ryan's account for the investment. But in reality, it was a document that gave her ownership over every account and asset in his name, along with proof he was soliciting her under false pretenses. When she presented it on Friday morning, Ryan didn't even skim it. He signed with a flourish, grinning like a man who had just secured his future. "You'll thank me for this one day," he said, kissing her hand. "I'm sure I will," she said. That evening, Daniel was waiting 2 blocks away with a police contact who'd agreed to be present when the trap closed. Emily texted Ryan from the kitchen. "Come sit with me. I want to toast to our future." He came in, pouring himself a generous glass of whiskey. "To our future," he said, raising it high. The knock at the door was loud and deliberate. Ryan frowned, then opened it to see Daniel standing beside a uniformed officer. "What's this?" Ryan asked. Emily stayed seated, her voice calm. "This is me thanking you early, Ryan, for showing me exactly who you are." The officer stepped forward. "Mr. Cole, we need you to come with us. We have statements, documents, and witness testimony regarding fraudulent solicitation." Ryan's eyes darted to Emily. "You set me up." She met his gaze without flinching. "Number, you set yourself up. I just made sure someone was watching." As they led him away, Ava appeared at the end of the street, her face pale when she saw the police. She turned and walked quickly in the opposite direction. Emily stood in the doorway until the car drove off. Then she closed the door, locked it, and leaned against it for a long moment. She thought about her father, about the promise she'd made to herself, and about how close she had come to losing everything. Not the money, but her peace. The house was quiet. Too quiet. She walked to the kitchen, poured herself a small glass of wine, and sat alone at the table. The papers that proved Ryan's intentions were stacked neatly beside her. She didn't need to read them again. She knew every word. She also knew this wasn't the end. Men like Ryan didn't give up easily, but she wasn't afraid anymore. He had played his hand, and she still had the winning cards. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love you to join our community by hitting the subscribe button. Through our stories, we build hope and give future to children and women abused all over the world. Motivate us by subscribing to hitting the subscribe button and turning on your notification bell. Also, let us know in the comments where you are watching us from and how this story hit home for you. Emily didn't sleep the night Ryan was taken away. She sat at the kitchen table with the lamp, casting a soft circle of light over the documents he had signed, her untouched cup of tea gone cold. The silence in the house was sharp. Every creak of the wood or hum of the refrigerator felt like an echo bouncing in an empty cave. She kept telling herself she should feel relief. She had proof now, legal proof, that he had been trying to defraud her. The contract he'd signed, thinking it was a transfer of her supposed inheritance, was ironclad. Her lawyer had reviewed it twice and confirmed it gave her ownership of everything he had under his name. But instead of relief, there was this gnawing hollowness. At 9 a.m., Daniel called. His voice was steady, but she heard the caution in it. "He's out on bail," he said. "Ava posted it. My guess is he'll come to you. He's going to try to turn this around, make you doubt yourself." Emily didn't even blink. Good, let him try. By noon, she heard his car pull up. She didn't move to the door right away. Instead, she watched from the window as Ryan sat there for a full minute, staring at the steering wheel. When he finally got out, his shirt was wrinkled, his hair uncombed, but his walk still had that faint swagger. less confident than before, but not broken. The knock on the door was soft, almost apologetic. Emily opened it to see him holding nothing. No flowers, no peace offering, just the weight of his own expression. He said, his voice low. "Can we talk?" She stepped aside and motioned him in. He walked into the kitchen, his eyes catching on the table where the signed document still lay. "I can explain everything," he started, the words quick and rehearsed. "I'm sure you can," she said, sitting across from him. "It wasn't what it looked like," he said. "Mike and Ava, they're hustlers. I thought I could use them. I was trying to make something happen for us. Yeah, maybe I went about it wrong, but I swear I wasn't going to hurt you." Emily kept her tone calm. "Wasn't going to hurt me? You were planning to drain my accounts." His jaw flexed. "You had money the whole time, Emily. You let me think we were living paycheck to paycheck while you sat on a fortune. Who does that to someone they claim to love? I did it to see if the man I married cared about me or about the size of my bank account. Guess which answer I got?" He leaned forward, his voice hardening. "You think you're so clever. You don't realize you've made enemies now. Ava isn't someone you can embarrass without consequences." Emily didn't flinch. "Ava's problem is Ava's. She can't touch me, and neither can you." Ryan's eyes flickered. Not anger this time, but something colder, calculating. "You think you've won? The second you made this about proving something, you lost. You're not untouchable." She slid the papers toward him. "You already signed over every asset you own to me. That's not an opinion, that's a legal fact. You wanted to play business shark, Ryan? Well, you signed away the whole tank." He stared at the document, the truth landing in pieces across his face. "What are you going to do with this?" "Nothing you'd like." He smirked, leaning back. "You won't destroy me. You're not that kind of person." Emily's voice was ice. But I am the kind of person who doesn't give second chances to people who bury knives in her back." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Ryan tried the charm again. "We can fix this. Forget Ava. Forget Mike. We can walk away from this mess and start over. Just you and me." She shook her head slowly. "You want me to believe you'd change when you haven't even apologized?" "I'm apologizing now," he said quickly. "No," she said, standing. "You're negotiating, and I'm not for sale." She walked to the front door and opened it. For a moment, he didn't move. Then he stood, scooping up the papers and crumpling them in his fist before tossing them on the floor. He brushed past her, muttering, "You'll regret this," and walked out into the daylight. Emily locked the door and leaned against it. For the first time, she let herself feel the shaking in her hands. Over the next week, things didn't quiet down. Ava called twice, once pretending to be friendly, the second time with veiled threats about business partners who don't appreciate loose ends. Emily recorded both calls and sent them to Daniel. He told her to keep her guard up, that Ava wasn't used to losing. Then came the envelope. No return address, just her name on the front. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a photo of her, walking into the gallery where she worked, her face half turned toward the camera. At the bottom, someone had written in black marker, "Everyone has a weakness." Emily stared at it for a long time before placing it in a plastic evidence bag. She didn't call Ryan. She didn't call Ava. She called Daniel. "They're trying to scare me," she said. "They're trying to make you react," he replied. "Don't." 2 weeks later, her lawyer called to confirm the transfer of Ryan's assets into her name was complete. It wasn't much compared to her trust fund, but it was enough to sting. His truck, his savings, a small piece of land he had inherited from an uncle. She sold the land within a week. She had no interest in keeping anything of his. The day after the sale went through, Ryan showed up again. This time, he didn't knock. She found him sitting on the front steps when she came home from work. his eyes tired but burning with something that made her stomach twist. "I want one thing back," he said as she approached. "You don't get to want things from me anymore," she said, unlocking the door. He stood and blocked her path. "The truck. I don't care about the money. I just want my truck." "You signed it over," she said flatly. "It's already sold." His jaw tightened. "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" "Not at all," she said, stepping past him. "But I am done being the person you think you can manipulate." For a second, she thought he might follow her inside, but he didn't. Instead, he laughed, low and bitter, and walked away. The divorce was finalized a month later. On the courthouse steps, Ryan tried one last time. "You're making a mistake. You'll end up alone with your money and nothing else." Emily smiled faintly. "I'd rather be alone with my money than with someone who sees me as a bank account with a heartbeat." Claire came over that night with takeout and 2 bottles of wine. "You actually look lighter," she said between bites. "I am," Emily said. "Not because I won, because I walked away before I lost more than I could replace." Claire raised her glass. "To walking away." Emily raised hers back. "To knowing when to." In the weeks that followed, she returned to her art with a kind of focus she hadn't felt in years. She began a new painting. Deep reds, sharp whites, sudden blacks, layer after layer building into something raw and unfiltered. She didn't name it right away, but she knew it was about survival, about masks slipping, about the cost of trust. The morning the painting was finished, she got a final call from Daniel. "Ava's been charged," he said. "Turns out you weren't the only one she targeted. Ryan's tied up in the investigation too. My guess is he'll be keeping his head down for a long time." Emily looked at the finished canvas, the paint still drying in streaks that caught the morning light. "Good," she said. "It's time I kept mine up." Later that day, she walked through the city streets, the noise and movement of life washing over her. She thought about her father's voice in her head. "You can give trust like an open hand or like a bank loan. Either way, you need terms." She finally understood it. Some people thought love was about leaping without looking. She now knew it was about choosing, carefully, consciously, and with eyes wide open. And some people would never be worth that choice. She pulled out her phone, opened a new note, and typed in capital letters, "Lesson learned." Underneath, she wrote, "True love doesn't ask for proof in dollars. And betrayal never hides forever. It just waits for the right moment to show its face." She saved it, slipped the phone into her pocket, and kept walking. The sun was warm on her face. The street ahead was open, and for the first time in a long time, she wasn't looking back.